Welcome to the First Turn. I'm Hyena.
I'm Llama.
Today we're talking about some Warhammer. Go figure. Um, really, the only thing we've kind of had this week is a little bit of rumors and some Grotmas
Grotmas calendar.
mischief. Yeah, it's a little bit of stuff. So far, the first week of the Grotmas release is a little under.
Right.
Not really a lot going on there. I mean, compared to Grotmas calendar last year, we had a lot of kind of impactful match play changes to both major games, Warhammer 40K and Age of Sigmar. This time it's a little slower rolling. It's been some lore, it's been a little bit of detachment stuff. It's definitely not every army getting touched. Which to me, I mean, when you think of an advent calendar, right? I've never actually done one.
Mm-hmm.
But if you think of how it's supposed to go, you escalate up to the day before Christmas.
Yep.
Kind of the idea. So when you think about or like the 12 days of Christmas song, right? Like the first day you get a bird. Who gives a crap? The 12, on the 12th day you're getting a dozen slaves, or whatever it is.
Right.
It's an escalation. Weird song, but yeah. So I mean, as we get closer to Christmas, I assume the Grotmas calendar is going to get bigger and better, and we'll get something kind of a big payoff at the end. I'm hoping.
Well, I thought it's been partially at least disappointing because it was so far. There were 2 days that were literally just short stories, which,
that could have been in addition to anything else they released. They didn't need to make. This is one of the Grotmas releases.
No, they could have done what they always do, where it's like, here's 27 articles a day, and one of them's a lore piece. They could have just thrown those in. And then, so the Hellsmiths of Hashut got their new way to play, and all it was the Scourge of Gyron stuff that they should have had anyway. And then the 40K detachments we got, I learned today that it was even in the Warcom article that they said they had planned to release these with the latest 40K balanced data slate, but the Red Gobbo went and snatched them up from us. And there's going to be 6 total 40K ones during the Grotmas thing. So it's 6 that were going to be updated with something else anyway. And they're just like, we had no way to fill the Grotmas calendar this year, so
we just delayed that previously planned thing to fill this. It's like, you didn't need to do the Grotmas calendar.
When at the previous preview event before the Nurgle one, when Eddie and whatever were sitting there and they're just like, oh, this is the 10th anniversary of Age of Sigmar. And so then a bunch of stuff flurried on the website over the next few days. Like, oh.
Yeah. We did have our Model of the Year voting as well, which was neat to see. I always like to look at the retrospective. Is that?
Have we seen the winner yet?
No, I think it's still still going. Even I think
who'd you vote for?
Shoot, who did I vote for? I don't remember.
All that I know is whenever I see the discussion, it takes people a minute to realize when they act like, oh, GW didn't really do much this year. And then you look at how many things they release in a year. It's like 1 year of their releases is bigger than some company's entire catalog.
100%. It's crazy.
And it'll feel like it wasn't a lot of the armies you play or the hobby that you're interested in didn't get much. But then it's like you look at how much they had to do. Like so many releases. And granted, Horus Heresy, both the big one and the Legions Imperialis one, ate up a lot of the space.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Right. I remember who I did now. I voted for the new Phoenix Lord, Lycus.
New Phoenix Lord.
Yeah, I remember the striking scorpion, not striking scorpion, the warp spider, Altark. No, what's his name? Phoenix Lord.
Oh yeah.
The one who's like warping.
Oh, that one's amazing.
Yeah, I did that one. Even though there were other cool stuff that released, that model was so striking and so unexpected. And I was I voted for it over my new chapter master for Raven Guard.
That one was pretty good. But I think, so now I'm relooking. I think I actually picked the same one. I think I picked
Lycus was super cool.
Lycus, yeah. Although Atheon Sean could have been,
And then I know.
I guess technically Fulgrim could have been too, and a Primarch is
Yeah,
often
Fulgrim. I know. I didn't want to vote for another Demon Primarch to win a Model of the Year. You know,
so
what I mean?
out of spite.
Oh.
I mean, don't get me wrong, that model was incredible. It's just
Yeah.
now it's becoming harder to separate GW's models really. And so it boggles my mind when I see content creators say things like, oh, they've bungled a few of their lately. And then you look at all the models and it's like, no, all their models now are just like
talking about
the baseline is good. It's just we now are spoiled. And so think back. So and we'll talk about this in another part of the show, but so the latest DLC for Total War Warhammer just came out. It was the one that was a big update for Slaanesh, the High Elves, and Norska, and Tides of Torment. And one of the legendary lords is Dakala, the Denied One. And for those who can remember, in Warhammer Fantasy, prior to Warhammer the Old World, there was a miniature for Dakala, the Denied One, the Slaanesh Chaos Lord, which was the first attempt to have a multi-armed serpent body character, and then Fulgrim and Marathi would kind of both have that later. But the model was so derpy and so old. In fact, it looked derpy when it came out. It was chunky. She had this stunty little body. They put her on a little square. It just awful. And we look at now but people back then thought it was cool, right? But look at now, like the baseline we get is a model that is infinitely better than that, no matter what, even when it's like basic infantry, or even when it's a dog that comes with infantry. So I think it's getting harder for something like a Fulgrim model, which in years past would have been an enormous, easy standout centerpiece win. It's now like, well, it is a Demon Primarch, but so many great models, including the two that we just mentioned, that Phoenix Lord and the Chapter Master. It's like, I don't know if Fulgrim's going to win.
Yeah, it might not. Might be denied. Sorry, because I mean, also like him compared to, I mean, a lot of the wind was taken out of his sails because they released the Forge World version of him
at the same time almost. Yeah.
So it's like, maybe it's not going to win this year. Those two models, I mean, like he still could. He still absolutely could. We just don't know.
That'd be pretty cool if all of them won. I don't know if Angron won. Right?
Age of Sigmar, I did the new Necrolith, the Necro Dragon, basically the Vampire Lord.
Prince Vordry.
Prince Vordry.
So see,
that model is stunning.
That for me was hard. I was going through the Age of Sigmar ones, and it was like, oh man, because some of it, like some of the new Hellsmiths are great, but Prince Vordry, that's pretty epic. I actually even liked Urkhan the Dark Warden, even though he's just a exalted.
I know. I thought about that too. It was tough. It was really tough.
The Vampire Lord,
I did settle that because it was like, it's big centerpiecey. It's glorious. Like, So, and then the secondary games, I think you were allowed to choose 3. I believe. For that, I chose I know it's not out yet, but the Dark Water release, because there are a lot of really cool models in that. I wanted to give props to that. I did the Saturnine Praetor. That model is awesome, so customizable.
Yep.
And then I think I did for Bretonia. I think I did the Grand Marshal of the Knights Panther. I think is what he was, because he's like kind of rearing up, and he's got like a leopard pelt, kind of like cape. I always really liked that model. So, but there were a few in there though. That I was
Harold Gammon, right?
Miao Ying was in there too. I think it might have been her instead.
So Miao Ying was a really good one, and that was one I thought about. But I actually did pick the Praetor and Saturnine, because not only is it so cool, I've seen a zillion people do a zillion things with it already. Like, that's pretty tough.
So I mean, there's a handful of good ones. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, especially when you go through the list, there's so much stuff that was released when you really think about it. So it was a little tough. I mean, you just gotta go with your gut, whatever. It might be not been the best thing, but like that's what I relied on, was like, oh, this is the one that felt right at the moment.
Well, and on the best of the rest category, I also didn't like picking a lot of the Horus Heresy or Legion Imperialis stuff because they were just reprints, or it was stuff ported from resin to plastic is all. So I was like, that's not really a. So I don't know. That's why I like the Saturnine one. But
yeah. Oh crap! I looking back at the article, our picks are actually like the 3 they showcased for every category were like in there, which I think is really funny. I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
funny. Whatever. It's fine.
That'd be interesting. I wouldn't be surprised actually if Ethan Sean or the Warp Spider Phoenix Lord. Because
I think they expected that model to be up high ranked, but like I think Ethan Sean might be a surprise like upset.
Well,
like I said, we've seen that converted a million times. We've seen it painted to the 9s.
Well, when they
favorite,
and when they were releasing those 5 Space Marine characters or whatever, it was like all of them were treated kind of equally on the website, but all the online chatter immediately and on Instagram was Ethan Sean. Like this model is
the other four looked good, but when it was like it's not the same level. It's not like sorry.
Yeah. And then we've seen people convert it or paint it to just insane levels. So that one could be up there. That could be a surprise winner. If they do it like last year, they'll do bronze, silver, gold. So who knows? It could make that top
cool.
3.
Yeah, I mean it costs you nothing to go and participate in.
I picked Prince Wardrive for Age of Sigmar because even though it doesn't always have to be a centerpiece for me, I mean that one was one that I think a lot of people in any game system wanted was new Vampire Lord riding a dragon.
I mean, it would have been nice if it was a generic version and the named version.
It is.
The fact that they gave you an unmounted one is the only.
Oh yeah. I see.
A little strange.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, whatever. It's fine. We also had a little bit of kind of rumor adjustments for. Was Age of Sigmar had a little bit. So we had previously talked about kind of the nature of rumors last week and basically stealing information and not.
Yeah.
But the fact that like verbal word of mouth kind of information is out there. We got to talk about it. It's a lot of it's obvious stuff that we've wanted for a long time, and give the people what they want, kind of thing. So it's a lot of the stuff it feels almost too good to be true, but from a business perspective, it makes sense to do the things that people are asking us for. You know what I mean? Because that means that they're going to buy it if you give them what they're wanting. But we've got kind of for the last few years in Age of Sigmar, when the basic human faction is going through all these changes, they've kind of incorporated these other races and they've slowly whittled them down to remove them from, retire them from the game. Essentially, got like the Phoenix Guard from old High Elves. You had all the Wood Elves, all the, everything now except for humans. The elite kind of dwarfs from fantasy and the Dark Elves. Basically all that remain in the game so far, to this point, from old like mortal races that got ported over that aren't their own faction now. As we're seeing the updates come, more and more that's getting phased out. We've got a dwarf update coming of some kind eventually, which will probably replace a bunch of the dwarves we have now. We know shadow elves are coming eventually for either Daughters of Cain or their own faction, that incorporate the now named Malarian. Who, by the way, they have been retconning that name into older publications. I don't know if you noticed that.
I didn't notice that. No.
They are changing Malekith's name from the old world into Malarian. I think even I saw somewhere that they were doing it in like TotalWar or something.
Oh, maybe.
Or like he wasn't Malekith anymore. Like they're like, no. He's always been called Malarian, wink. Like that kind of thing, because it's easier to trademark that name as a new one.
Right. Whereas
Malekith is
that's a name that's been used in Dark Elf lore forever.
Exactly.
And technically it's the name of something in Tolkien, right?
I think it's also something
the Witch King is, that's for sure.
Yeah. It's also something from Norse mythology, right?
Yep.
So Who knows? So they're changing that, and I assume some of the stuff from the Darkling Covens is what they're called, or the old um, Dark Elf line. That stuff get retired. But we were talking about that maybe in this newest iteration of Age of Sigmar, that'll be again very human centric. We might see a change to how you bring some of the dwarfs and dark elves that are right now part of the army. What was the rumored change?
Well, the rumor said that it's because they were analyzing a little bit of verbiage, and someone came in to like not confirm but wink wink that rumor. And so there was an article that claimed that during a Q&A that there will still be ways to play dwarves and elves in the new cities of Sigmar. It didn't say they're in the battle tome as their own units. It just said there are ways in the battle tome to play them. And so one of the rumor mongers came in and said it may be in the form of regiments of renown.
So that would be interesting.
Or like an army of renown.
Oh, as like an army of renown? Okay. Interesting. Because like the way I'm picturing it is so if you have an army of renown that includes these types of armies, you're limited in what other units you're allowed to bring.
Yep.
The idea. If you bring them as a regiment of renown, typically you need to cross armies in order to bring a regiment, right? So if I'm playing Daughters of Cain, I can bring a Cities of Sigmar regiment of renown. But if I'm playing Cities of Sigmar, I'm not allowed to bring regiments from my army. I have to just bring the units.
Right.
Well, could it be potentially that they are not Cities of Sigmar units, so you can't just bring them? But if you want to play them, you bring the Battle Tome Regiment of Renown within your own army.
Maybe, yeah.
Like I don't know. It's really weird.
Well, if we've learned one thing, it's like sometimes Games Workshop knows when it's time to move on from something. And you and I have talked about that. Like, if they flesh out the human side, then maybe these elves and dwarves will go either back to Old World or into another army. And but then Games Workshop is also like afraid to rip the Band-Aid that makes it so you can't play their models still. And so that's why I think some fantasy units have hung around way too long in Age of Sigmar. And why maybe the new cities book, before it's published, whenever that'll be, might still have them in there in some capacity.
Right.
I don't know. They were like afraid to just let it go.
I mean, I've got no problems of saying, hey, there's a similar unit in this book to these old elves that I have.
Mm-hmm.
They're just going to count as those. I'm going to use them as them.
Yep.
Like, I've got no problem doing that. I've got no problem with anybody doing that. Right? Like, if you're upset that your units of humans are just humans, you want to say, well, my city that I'm from is a mixed race thing. And it's like, well, throw some elves into your human units. Like, I got no problem with that either.
Play your Phoenix Guard, and they'll just count as this city's unit or whatever.
Right. Exactly. I lost my Shadow Warriors. Because they were high elf units that got sent back to the old world. My Shadow Warriors are now just Wilder Core Hunters.
Yep.
The warband from Warcry. It has like the ballista and the hunting dogs and stuff. It's just like, you're just those guys now, but elf.
Yep.
Whatever. Like, you can get creative with it, and it's to me, it's sad when it happens, but it just creates hobby potential. Like, what can I use my old models as?
Well, and what's funny is I remember when Age of Sigmar 4.0 was launching, and we talked about it on the show, and then you released like a spreadsheet, and it was so people could see that if you rethink a little bit, your first reaction to some unit going away shouldn't be, now I'll never get to use these again, what a waste. It's like, well, what else can I use these for? Is I think maybe a better way to feel good about a purchase you made that's no longer, like when you purchased, what was it, Skin Wolves or something, and then they just,
every time I buy something, it goes to Legends. Every time I convert something, every time I got a project idea, it always goes to Legends. And I'm sorry for whoever also has those things, because I feel like I cause it. It happened with my Skin Wolves. It happened with my Wolf Rats. It happened with like I said, I've got some plans to do some Dark Elf conversions using Miao Yang and some of the Bretonnian stuff to be like executioners and things like that. I assume they're all going away because I'm doing a project.
Sure. Yep.
So like my latest conversion projects are all new stuff. right? Like I'm not I'm not doing it for old stuff anymore because I don't want that evil on me. But like I was even thinking about because I was talking to somebody online about what to use some of their old sacrosanct stuff as. They
Okay.
had second edition things, and it's like there's so many things you can use them as, right? Like any of the evocators on mounts can just be, what the dragon, the wingless dragon riders, or
Yeah.
they can be like the new paladors. Like you can use them for anything you want to. I was even talking about with a guy about using from Malign Portents. There was a character they added, the Lord Ordinator,
Yeah.
where he was like the siege master that coordinated the ballistas, the
Yeah.
Stormcast ballistas.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they cut him. He's gone because all the ballistas were part of the Sacrosanct Chamber. And so they got rid of him. He's got nothing to buff. He's got nothing to participate with. And I was like, well, if you wanted to use him, like he could be any of these melee heroes, but if you want to get more creative with it, I actually have mine manning one of those ballistas and counting as they released a new character who was sort of a Stormcast guy with a great bow. This really big great bow and these two Griffhounds. Remember that unit?
Yeah.
It's a single hero on like a long base, a long oval base.
Yeah.
And all he does is shoot. And he's really good at it. But it's like, well, I have one of them now that is just an engineer wielding a ballista that counts as that great bow unit. It's like you can get creative with it and like come up with creative ways to use your models that you have. Like you don't have to say,
Yeah.
oh well, it's legends, it can't be used anymore. Sell it or throw it in the trash.
Yeah.
Like,
and sometimes it's dare I say a little dramatic when people do that. Because like they're not just going to stop playing. And most of them can probably think for a minute and decide they can use the models for something or sell them.
Yeah.
And then in some cases they make that comment when they don't even actually own the models.
Yeah.
I know we had like an edition of 40K where it started out where like dreadnoughts were bad, and someone was like, well, I guess my dreadnoughts are going to sit on the shelf forever. And then we had someone who was like buying used stuff to help people build armies. And it was like, well, I'll buy your dreadnoughts. And then the guy was like, I don't actually own any.
Yeah, I actually don't have any.
Oh, so they're sitting on the shelf together. Yeah. You made such a big stink on a relatively big
Well, I guess my 18 dreadnought list is dead. You got 18 dreadnoughts? I'll buy some of them. Oh, I actually don't have any.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? Oh my God. Like that's
yeah.
Are you kidding me? Like, get out of here.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean that's interesting. I want to see what happens with it. I mean, we knew in our hearts it was coming, right? Like that dwarfs and elves are getting out. Cities of Sigmar is going to be humans. We knew it was going to happen. It should have happened a long time ago, honestly. It hasn't happened fully yet.
No.
But having a creative way to still use them in the interim is fine. It'll be restrictive and it'll be limited. But it's a good weaning, step to not including them in the army at all. So
yeah, just be prepared.
And it's been so long, right? It's been decades that these models have existed. It's if we have to say goodbye to them, it's a good time to.
Yeah, well, and now we're days away from 2026, and like, so Age of Sigmar will be in its 11th year, and like some of these models were 10 years old when that started, and they're still here. Yeah. So is it really that big a deal if they go away? I mean, but yes, but
there will be some people who have just bought a full army of it.
Yep.
They just went and bought 10 boxes of old Dark Elves, planning to use it. Thanks, GW, for
because they're like, I want to play Cities of Sigmar, even though they probably don't. They want to just still play their Dark Elves in Age of Sigmar, and so they're like, well, I'll play Cities of Sigmar, so I'm going to do Dark Elf themed city. So yeah, I'm going to go buy $800 worth of Dark Elves, and then they're not in the new book.
Yeah,
thanks, GW.
Oh, well, we'll see.
You've had that,
but like I said,
you've had that
really hoping
about
for
a few things though, like. Yeah. And whenever you see people spamming a unit, for example, in tournament lists, when it was like 18 Ridge Runners and Gene Stealer cults or whatever, or right now it's like 11 Brood Horrors, but like you were always like, I don't feel bad for you if you bought that many of them just to play that list. because you know that's not going to be legal forever.
You knew, like, come on, you knew, you knew you were being degenerate. Like, come on.
Yeah. It's like one thing if for hobby purposes, like there are Space Marine players who legitimately try to get a full company or a full chapter or whatever. And so, yeah, you're going to buy 15 dreadnoughts and 30 rhinos. But like when you were doing it just to play one degenerate list, it's like, you know, that's not going to be valid for long. You idiot. Don't then complain when, oh, you can't play that many anymore.
Yeah. Everyone who played competitive 40K for one edition also owned 3 Riptides because the Riptide wing detachment was so good.
Yeah. And
it's like, what do you play? Oh, I play Eldar plus 3 Riptides. It's like, what?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, it was 7th edition when the first formations came out before the Decurion detachment, and they just straight up gave free rules sometimes, and like some cases even free models, and it was like, and you didn't have an army restriction on how you could play it. So yeah, there were orc lists that would have 2 Eldar Wraith Knights, and there would be Tyranids lists that had a Riptide wing with 3 Power Riptides in it. It's like, why? But then when they would stop doing that, yeah, those Tyranid players who bought 3 Riptides and like, what? Now I can't use my not Tyranids in my Tyranid army anymore.
It's like, dudes, you knew how dumb this was. Like, what do you? Come on, you can't be mad at this. Like, stupid. Yeah.
We also
hoping. I'm optimistic about the end of the year here that we've got.
I hope so.
Some kind of a big announcement to wrap it up.
The Grotmas calendar can only go up. I mean, it's been a little lame so far, in my opinion. We did get some outside of miniatures rules or updates in the form of not quite Games Workshop, but kind of. Creative Assembly did their little 25th anniversary event.
Yep.
But the reviews were very limited because, spoiler, for those who wonder, they showed off 2 total things. The upcoming, or the start of the project for Medieval 3 Total War, which was a fan favorite historical title, Medieval 2. And so hopefully that'll be good. But I mean, they're in pre-production, so you're looking at like 2028 maybe. But then they announced that for Total War Warhammer, a little more relevant to our listeners, they're going to start the End Times event. The End Times, of course, were a controversial period at the end of Warhammer Fantasy, but it had to happen because fiscally the game was dead, and player base, the game was dead. Now,
and then also, where else do you go?
Yeah,
in fantasy, right? Like the Chaos Invasion had started, Undead was on the rise, the Orcs were rampaging. Like, where else does the world go? Like, how does the world calm back down and then go back to normal? Like, yeah.
And
but I will say that while the End Times was controversial in terms of like decision making for the game, we've since rectified that a little bit by bringing back the old world.
They did.
However, it did produce some of the best fantasy models that the game had ever seen.
It did, and it began the launch of Age of Sigmar, which not only has been successful, but has from wall to wall the best lineup of models of any of their games in terms of like the new stuff they've made. But you're right. Agree. In the End Times, we got the best Warhammer Fantasy models ever, one of which is now, even though it's 11 years old, it's still spectacular, and that's Nagash, of course, who during the End Times was maybe not as much in the story as he should have been, because his resurrection should have been an enormous event. That was even what the Forces of Order went to folks like Manfred and whoever the other one was, Arkin, and it was like, well, we need to bring something back that can fight chaos. And so it's like, well, we have this way to bring back Nagash, but for some of us, that really sucks.
Yep. And then when Nagash came back, he didn't even fight chaos. He like went after the elves or something. You know, like he just didn't.
Well, and he raised his horsemen, his Mortarks, which were 9 of them, I think, at that. One of a few of them who still exist. What is it? Not Khalida, but Neferata.
Neferata, yep.
Arkin, Manfred still exist in Age of Sigmar. But then in the old world, the world that was, he also had the pirate guy.
Luther. There was Luther Harkin.
Luther Harkin was one of his Mortarks.
There were 2 brothers. Well, there was another There was another Von Karstein, Vlad,
It might have been Conrad,
or Conrad.
the younger one.
Conrad, I think.
Yeah.
And there was 2 other
Maybe it was
vampires.
Vlad. I don't know.
I know there was whatever. Most of them did not survive. Krell was one of them. The White King.
Yep.
Chaos Warrior guy, Krell. He was one of them. Most of them did not survive into the new game, but there have since been at least. I mean, there might be at least 3. I mean, 3 new Mortarks have been introduced.
We have Olander, Catacross, and Usharan.
Which, I mean, there's potential there for 3 more because Nagash's 9 number is important to him.
It is.
Like
that was like the number of
and
spells he could cast, his books, his
And so we have the potential for 3 more, but those slots have not really been filled yet. But they're not being filled by the Mortarks of old. They're kind of gone.
Yeah, which I think is better. Because it's like I don't mind when they bring back a character every now and then, like Festus, like Gotrek, but like I also want Age of Sigmar to have its own unique characters, and I think the 3 they've made that are AOS specific are great Mortarks, not only story wise, but which Usharan's becoming one of the most interesting characters in Age of Sigmar.
Yeah.
But also the models for all 3 of them are fantastic. But Nagash is coming to Total War Warhammer. And we're reaching the end of Total War Warhammer, which, as someone who's played Total War since Medieval 1, it has been a great franchise, but the Warhammer game has really blown away everything they've done in terms of player base, sales, the amount of DLC they were able to milk out of it. I mean, and so it is a little bittersweet that it's kind of coming to an end. Now, they did announce with Nagash coming to the game, he is legit his own faction. Territories he raises are just that they're permadead. Someone can't just come and resettle them unless Nagash himself is completely eliminated from the game. So
I didn't know
unless
that.
you destroy his entire faction, if he's destroyed a settlement, it can't be resettled because now it's his like graveyard. It's basically a place that he raises. He uses the Black Pyramid not only as a settlement, which already exists in Total War, but as a follows him, and he uses it for all sorts. It's like a ship, I think, that follows him around kind of and gives him power. He can cast his own entire school of spells that are unique to him, and he's going to have ways to acquire the Mortarks throughout his campaign.
So it sounds like a lot of fun.
So they will still be the Mortarks, of course, Manfred, Luther, all of them. They will still have their own factions and still be playable on the map. He can acquire them over the course of his campaign. And then I think that would be kind of like the Tamerkin's mechanic, where he has these unique lords and heroes that can either be in their own army or be in his army. And they're powerful, each their own. So imagine you just acquire these known Mortarks as your homies. Talk about a Death Star. It would be him and his 9 Mortarks in an army, maybe, or each of them leading 9 different armies. But so it sounds like he's expensive. He doesn't get to start with much because he's so powerful on his own. But his mechanics are going to be some of the coolest in the game. They're making an entire DLC around just him. And so I think that does him justice, in a way maybe the End Times itself didn't. And then they even said Warhammer is not, we don't have plans to end the support for it soon. And there is more DLC coming. Now, if they're just going to do the End Times, we know we got the array of Vermin Lords with the End Times for Skaven. Yep. We got the Glotkin and the Magath Lords in Chaos. We got the Morghast Archai units with Nagash. What else did we get? But it was some of the best models they had, and I imagine all of those will get DLCs for Total War Warhammer. There's an entire province right now that belongs to like the Maggot host or something of Nurgle, and they have a generic guy leading them right now. It's like, well, that's going to be Glotkin or one of the Magaths, I'm guessing. So and I know this is what we usually talk about, but Total War Warhammer is a game I played for its entirety. I put a lot of hours in it. The new DLC, Tides of Torment, is great already, because it also launched a huge patch to the game, 7.0. But the End Times thing, that looks pretty exciting. That was like, they spent a lot of time at their Creative Assembly 25th anniversary announcement talking about that. But then they ended it. Then they just ended the whole thing. And
Yeah.
the fans were understandably upset. Now, their expectations maybe were inappropriate, but we only got 2 announcements, and then that was it.
Yeah.
But there were less than 10,000 people in the room watching this thing, and we know there's a big video game expo coming up on December 11th, and Creative Assembly specifically said at the end of this, we have a huge announcement to make next week. The rumors are that it's going to be Total War Warhammer 40K.
Which, I mean, we've been, kind of theorizing for a while that it's doable. You make it more like there are other games that already do planetary system colonization, Stellaris, and all these kind of like these 4X maps that are in space. I mean, you could do that, but when you attack a planet, now you fight a Total War battle. Or you fight in space. Maybe it takes place on one of the ships. In like a big hangar, something. Like you can make it all work.
Well, there was some game, I can't remember the name of it now, so that's useless here, but I'll talk anyway. That had done these, and you just described some, I suppose, that do this like galactic map type thing. And that was what people wondered with Warhammer 40K Total War. Are they going to just set it on a planet that's boring? Is it just going to be like an Armageddon or something, right? And it sounds like no, they will have a galactic map, but that's broken into zones, and then each zone will have, instead of territories or provinces, right, it'll have systems.
Right. Make it much bigger than just like here's a city.
Right.
Like here's a system, and the systems don't move relative to one another, even though the planets are moving around and stuff. Like the systems are the territories.
Yeah.
And then there's resources in those systems
and buildings you can make based on the planets, and you can probably, depending on which faction, it sounds like there will be like 6 factions or something, maybe 8 to start the game. That obviously gives them room for DLC to bring everything as it goes. One rumor said that the Space Marines faction, you get to choose your own chapter for now, I'm guessing, because I have to imagine they'll do DLC packs down the road that release characters people know. But the Space Marines actually operate like a Horde faction in most Total War games. And it's like, what? And it's not Horde in terms of numbers. It's the fact that Space Marines don't govern planets or cities. And so they don't get to like conquer and set up and do economic buildings and all that like anybody else would. So they own it, but then they kind of move on like a Horde. And so, they're never like settling.
That's interesting. Huh.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that. You think of Norska, right? Like, or the Warriors of Chaos, they plant an obelisk and move on. You don't. You don't just sit in an economy build.
Yeah.
Right. Interesting.
So, that could be interesting. I hope that's supposed to be December 11th. So just in a few days here, we'll get to see what that looks like, if that's what they reveal.
I mean, I know there's also talks about the fact they've got other franchises they're going to be doing Total War games of. Star Wars was another one. Maybe a Lord of the Rings one. Maybe. I mean, any fantasy setting is fair game, right?
When they showed what they could do back with Medieval 2, which was historical and not fantasy, but kind of fantasy, and then obviously with Warhammer, they could grab any popular fantasy setting, put the map out, and develop a way for people to play with swords and spears and dragons, right? Yep. You could do
Game of Thrones.
Fire and Ice or whatever. You could do Lord of the Rings. You could, So, and I imagine if they can do Warhammer 40K or Star Wars, they can do the other. So,
and then the fact that they could do fantasy and they're coming towards end times might mean they move into Age of Sigmar and do a title in that setting.
They mentioned Age of Sigmar by name, that Creative Assembly is starting to now look into the IP. And so like with Total War Fantasy or Warhammer Fantasy, where they had a whole group that was just lore nerds who had to dive into the Warhammer lore to find the most obscure characters to produce, like Aethlin, the dragon ship guy for elves. I could see them doing that for Age of Sigmar then. Dive into the mortal realms and the books that exist.
But you know what else they could do? Is they could actually create stuff for Age of Sigmar.
Yeah.
Because fantasy is very much a look to the past and look to the history of that world to find things. Age of Sigmar is the opposite, where it's new going forward.
Wide open.
You can create as opposed to just looking back to what exists already.
Yeah.
I think it's more exciting. You know, that's kind of exciting potential there.
And if they Creative Assembly does more than Total War, obviously, but I hope it would be Age of Sigmar Total War. It could just end up another style of game altogether, an RPG or a first person, whatever. I don't know, but it'd be exciting if they are doing some AAA title in the Mortal Realm. So,
yeah. I was looking up the list.
Yeah.
The list of actual end time stuff, by the way, going back to that. And the 4 books of the end times were End Times Archaon. That's what started it. End Times Cain. End Times Glotkin, End Times Nagash. So when you look at the End Times Archaon, there's not a lot that they had introduced during that time that we don't already have.
Correct.
Right? Because that's when we got the new Bloodthirster, Greater Demon release was, it originally came on a rectangle, remember? The Skull Reaper and Wrathmonger kit, which is very old now. It's very aged, and we already have those in Total War. Scar Bloodwrath came along with them, who's now a Legends character in Total War, or in Age of Sigmar, by the way.
Yep.
I don't think we have him in Total War, do we?
We do. He's a hero
we do. Okay.
that you unlock.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. So the Archaon side of things is already kind of spent.
Yep.
Right. So we're not getting into that. Thankful Bone Ripper brought the Vermin Lords, the 5 of them. Thankful Bone Ripper, obviously. There was a new Warlord. There was new Greyseer. There were Storm Fiends, which is a big one.
Yeah.
Big rat ogres armed with scryer weapons. Because if one thing you could say about the scryer rosters, they're a little squishy, right? There's not a lot of there's armor there, but there's not big beefy things. You got to rely on rat ogres and whatever to tank things for you, or just clan rats. Whereas Storm Fiends, both ranged and melee, variants of them could have very different roles. Be a really cool release. End Times Cain, I don't remember what was released besides upgrades and artifacts and list building stuff and things like that. I think it'd be cool if there was a new avatar, they could
in fantasy, huh?
Maybe because the current avatar of Cain we have in fantasy is from the chariot, the dark the Daughters of Cain chariot, and it is
stupid.
It is derpy. It is really stupid. Whereas the more modern released Avatar of Cain for 40K is amazing. It's an amazing model. Yeah. It's not cross compatible. It's not usable. It's a 300 point monster in 40K. It's a 100 point monster living statue in Age of Sigmar. Yeah.
Age of Sigmar.
I wouldn't want to get that Age of Sigmar or the 40K Avatar of Cain and be like, all right, now it's this 100 points removed immediately from the game.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then Glotkin release was the biggest one for releasing just a big slew of things for Nurgle. It was the 3 Magath Lords. There was just 3 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's 3 of them. The Glotkin themselves, the Putrid Blight Kings, and then there was a foot hero named Gutrot Spume.
Gutrot Spume.
Axe and tentacles.
Putrid Blight King guy. Yep.
Yeah. So that's a pretty big expansion to the Chaos roster, the Nurgle roster. And then Nagash is included, like you said, the Mortarks, so the 3 of them, plus the Morghasts and the Spirit Hosts. Which I'm surprised we don't have Spirit Hosts in the game already.
Yeah.
I'm actually very surprised by that because we've got ghosts. We've got Hex Wraiths, we've got Banshees and things like that. Why have we not gotten Spirit Hosts yet? I don't know. But yeah, it was a lot of stuff that came with the end times, and I don't think we're limited to just these things.
No.
When Creative Assembly comes around to each of those major releases, I don't think we're limited to just those 4 or 5 releases per army. You could fill out significantly more. So.
Yeah. Well, and
I'm excited about it.
I think they're calling it Lords of the End Times, and so I imagine each of those things we just named will end up a DLC where they're their own faction.
Wasn't there something with the end times with Tyrion embodying the avatar, embodying Cain or something? where
Uh,
he took up the sword and rampage. Wasn't there something like that?
no, he
Lore
might have.
wise,
I know a bunch of the characters were turned into the demigods that they are now,
right?
or unless they died. But that was the event where they needed that to combat chaos, and they still lost, by the way.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I thought there was something big though, where like one of the elf characters became like assumed the mantle of the Phoenix King and took up the sword of Cain and
I think
became
Malekith
a
is
living
actually
avatar.
king.
I don't know. I don't remember well enough about that.
Yeah, I think Malekith became the Phoenix King.
Okay.
Let me see if I can find.
But yeah, but I know that book was just called Cain. It wasn't called like Followers of Cain or like The Rise of Cain or the Avatar. It was just called Cain,
Yeah,
which is wild to me because like every other book is named after sort of a character, right? Like a
yeah,
powerful
yep.
lord of that time. And Cain is a god. Like, so it's just kind of like, it's like calling one of the end times books Sigmar, I'd be like, that's weird, or calling one of the books more or so,
Yeah.
like just name dropping a god into the setting.
Trying to remember. Uh, yeah, well, a bunch of them became like gods or whatever. You're right. They do call him Malarian now. They don't even call him Malekith when you Google search it.
Yeah, no, isn't that weird? That happened 6 months ago or so. They started like retconning all the different references to him.
Wow.
I swear, even in one of the Total Wars, I thought he was coming up as Malarian when you choose him as his campaign.
Yeah. Oh, you were right. Okay, so Tyrion became the Avatar of Cain, went mad, was mortally wounded by Malekith, but survived to ascend with Teclis as one of the gods of light. Okay.
Yeah. So something like that. So like I think that's what they're kind of alluding to when they drop the Cain book. Maybe they'll touch on that when that comes around, and maybe they'll give High Elves a roster change. And because like anytime we get an update like this, a DLC, it's not just like, oh well, it's just one faction. It's like, no, you give us a faction, you give us a rework for a different faction, and you give us like a lord for an existing faction, and then maybe a new hero type. Like it's usually a pretty big thing.
They tried to, dare I say, screw the audience over where they were going to do that. I think what was it? The one where we got Zinch updates, the Shadows of Fate or Change or something.
Shadows of Change yeah.
But they were going to release that, and they were going to only give like one legendary lord, one new unit. It was just going to be like, but it was still going to be $25, and people were like, "What the shit?" And so, Creative Assembly pushed back a whole bunch of their releases to keep updating this one for months. We kept getting new add-ons to this specific DLC to make it worth it, and then Thrones of Decay was infinitely better. And then this one, Tides of Torment, infinitely better. So now they're not shorting people on content. To add to what you said, so yeah, there'll be 3 new legendary lords, a 4th free LC legendary lord, new legendary heroes that you can unlock with quests and stuff. And then it was also hotfix 7.0, which changed how sieges work, which changed so now there's a ton of new unique magic items in the game, and not just like the ones that are named character specific. They revamped existing spells and magic items, and then gave factions Norska, High Elf, and Slaanesh all huge updates to their roster, to their mechanics, not just here's a new guy to play. So yeah,
I assume these end times ones will be similar.
Yeah.
Maybe they won't be that big because they're becoming kind of rapid fire, how quickly they get released, because they want to. I mean, I would want to make sure all the end time stuff get released in a timely manner.
Yeah.
So it's kind of continuous. It's not like disjointed.
Right.
My one hope would be that like maybe Tomb Kings gets an update of some kind during this. Because I know Tomb Kings was pretty late, right? Like it was pretty late when they were added, and their mechanics were pretty unique.
Yeah.
To start with the Canoptic Jars and stuff like that.
They were one of the coolest factions in Warhammer 2.
But Cetra is an important character, and in the end times, he goes out in a blaze of glory trying to stop Nagash's ascension because he fucking hates Nagash.
Yeah.
And we saw that as part of the trailer. I think we saw him, dead, kind of in the sand, because he's a big part of the end times because I think there was some part of the story where the Chaos Gods actually resurrect him, bring him back, and like no strings attached. You need to stop Nagash because we're trying to end the world here. We're going to give you this second chance to go do something. You don't owe us anything, that kind of thing. And so I don't know. I want to see kind of what else comes out. It can't just be Nagash, like it's got to be.
Wait. Yeah,
it's got to be more to go with it.
Yeah, they said they're going to add things like they want to integrate. So for anyone who remembers when Warhammer 3 came out, the first campaign you could play was the Realms of Chaos one, and it sucked.
Yeah,
it was, for one, it was a much smaller, more localized map. There was no like sandboxing. You only had these specific factions you were locked into, and they had specific quest lines you were locked into. And so it lost its appeal real quick. And there were like millions of people playing it for the first few weeks and then nobody. And it sounded like Creative Assembly was banking on the Realm of Chaos doing really well before they had to do Immortal Empires, which brings us the full map. But there were neat elements or ideas in the Realm of Chaos. So it sounds like what they're going to do with the End Times event is they're going to give us the full Immortal Empires map that we already have. But when you enter into certain provinces up north in the Realm of Chaos, you can then enter the Realm of Chaos map. And so they'll be like their own sub games inside of the main game.
Oh, that's wild. Okay.
So you'll go up to one territory, but then it'll open up to the Realm of Chaos map, and now you've got a whole other map that's a part of that's separated from the main world. And I think that's also probably something they were experimenting with before you do a game like Star Wars or 40K, where you need more than just one world to do your stuff on. So now in Warhammer, we're getting these jump to different realms with mini maps. I think that's like a precursor to what we could expect. But
yeah, that's a really good point. Because like zooming in on the Realm of Chaos, I mean, is analogous to zooming in on a system where you've got multiple different provinces within that system then need to be conquered in order to conquer the whole system. You know what? That's pretty interesting.
They also
I didn't think about that.
They also are introducing catastrophes. So now if a storyline event happens, and they're not going to force people into the storyline like in Total War Warhammer 1, no matter who you were playing, you got to a certain turn, the Chaos Invasion happens, and 3 waves of 8 frickin' boats with 20 stack armies on them showed up, and you didn't get any reward for killing them. And no matter which faction you were, this happened every time, right? And it sort of interrupts the sandbox experience.
Well, it also sucked because it was just designed bad. Because you'd quick save and be like, all right, I know the invasion's coming in 2 turns. I'm gonna move my guys to get ready. Well, they would spawn somewhere that your people were not.
Always.
And they would attack you and they would take your city before you had a chance to respond. So you're like, crap. Let me reload. Let me position my armies where they're going to be coming from, and you move them to a different place, and they spawn where you're not again. And so it was just like this frustrating mechanic of like, what did I gain from this other than having to stop what I was doing? My reward is I get to keep playing the game and start over with my armies because you wrecked me.
When they wrecked your city and then your armies go to fight them and your army's all beat up, you then have to rebuild that city and that army. So it's purely a cost, and you didn't get any reward for winning.
But the funny part was only the player gets attacked.
Yeah.
The AI factions around you do not get attacked. So you just get low. It happened. Like the event happens, you get lowered on power. Everyone hates you because you're such a weakling now.
Yeah.
And then they all go to war with you, and they just kill you. It's just like, this was a bad design mechanic.
Yeah. And they eventually changed it and made it way better. And then everything that's happened since, like everyone forgets there was a story in 2. It was the Vortex story in Ulthuan. And then they now have the Realm of Chaos thing. Well, the fact that they're going to have both maps now in one is really neat. And then they're going to have these catastrophes. So when disasters happen that were a part of the end times, it's actually going to affect the regions and the provinces on the map. So it'll be like a big.
We saw some of that with
Yeah.
like they pulled the moon down, the Skaven pulled the moon down over Lustria, and it like vastly changes the layout of Lustria, and like burns the jungle down, and there's a giant cataclysm basically, and there's a giant rift in Lustria now, and everything burned, that kind of thing. That I remember seeing some screenshots from that.
Yeah. That'll be neat because it sounds like there'll be even things like there was a big earthquake that put some volcanic slag that started to appear in one of the mountain ranges and in the end times, and they showed a video of that in TotalWar. So it sounds like these things happen, and it will affect the campaign while you're playing, but you can still sandbox it. Like you don't always have to go along with that.
And I'm sure there'll be a mode where you're just like turn off end time catastrophes, untoggle that. That kind of thing. So you can play the original sandbox mode, conquer the world, whatever, minor and major victories that existed, previously, all kinds of different ways. It's nothing but more to do. Honestly. Yeah. I can't see how it could be bad.
I don't see how this could be bad. When they fixed Shadows of Change, that's what it was called, right? And when they fixed that, they did so right by the community. And then the following DLC, while delayed, all ended up great. And then now this is like something that the writers sound excited about, the programmers sound excited about. We all know the end times. And then a player like Nagash coming in, I have to imagine it's going to be more than just here's a new playable legendary lord. It's like you said, I think. And then what they described, all of this being added, now it's like it's a whole new game, but in the same setting we've enjoyed for the last 8 years.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's super cool.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of wrapping up what we had new for this week, right? There was not much else kind of teased. I mean, there was some, like we said, Grotmas had some 40K detachments that look fine. Today is Sunday, so we know what's for pre-order next week, and it's nothing.
Nothing.
Which I mean, when you think about it, at some point we get too close to Christmas, and they can't guarantee, things are going to be delivered on time. So let's just not try. So like this week we've got some audiobooks, we've got some like Christmas, officially licensed clothing and stuff. I mean, there's a new Blacktown episode coming out, if not out already. I can't recall.
And if you guys have
that coming,
Warhammer Plus is so inexpensive, and you not only get a free model every year, you get the apps for free, but then some of these shows like Black Talon are really good.
Yeah, I think it's super cool. I only wish it was longer because they were 4 episode, 6 episode seasons.
Yeah,
that are
they do it in 3 episode chunks. And
they're like 11 minutes each. Like it's not a lot of stuff. I do wish it was longer. Maybe it takes a long time to actually produce it. Maybe it's a small studio. Maybe it's whatever.
Yeah, it might be a really small studio.
But like animating more of the Age of Sigmar main story events would actually, I think, help encapsulate what is going on in the setting, because I think it's one of the biggest complaints for people is they couldn't get into the setting of Age of Sigmar, especially initially, because there was so little going on. Now there's a lot of interesting things happening. There's a lot of potential for storytelling. Maybe try to get some of these, these great writers we've got making these, amazing books and, writing the stories for all these games. Maybe get them to, actually tell these stories correctly. And
they've now got novels to work on or to work from. And the Mortal Realms maps get more detailed with every release. They now do these ongoing seasons, and so we get new regions described in detail or why the fighting is there. I don't know. As far as let's guess, what do you think the rest of the Grotmas calendar will have?
So I know we're down to 3 remaining detachments for 40K. I mean, that was kind of spoiled a little bit by some rumors and some leaks. I'm really hoping for a roadmap. That'd be a great gift. Officially, what's upcoming next year would be, I mean, with the way we've seen the Grotmas releases going, they're not high impact. They're not amazing.
Do we
But
think that's what they're saving
schedule?
for? Is like one big reveal and then the what's coming next year?
I hope so. I think so. I mean, maybe it'll be something like, I loved last year's Mercenary Regiments of Renown. I think it was the highlight. I mean, yes, every army in 40K getting a new detachment that was very playable was great for the game, but making essentially neutral mercenary faction regiments of renown for every army that you can toss in a little bit of flavor to any army you wanted, especially because it wasn't like you weren't stuck to your Grand Alliance. Like plenty of armies of order and destruction and even chaos could now bring a regiment renowned Gargant, like a mini Gargant, was super cool. Like it was so flavorful. In addition to like the Trug for hire for order was like a super cool thing. Now it's like, well, I can template it. For me, it created all kinds of hobby opportunity to make really cool thematic expansions to my army. Right. I was coming up with another one that I was thinking about. I saw someone even kind of pull it off where One-Eyed Grunnick is the Regiment of Renown. It was a mega Gargant for chaos.
He's a war stomper.
He's the war stomper. I don't have any of the Gargant models, but I like having it be in addition, like a possibility for my chaos armies. I kind of want to fulfill that, right? That potential. And so like for my Skaven army, I'm thinking about building a gargantuan rat ogre to count as him. But for my other chaos armies, though, I'm thinking like I've got a 3D printed model for a war mammoth, right? A war mammoth with a crew on the back, counting as a 35 wound, mega Gargant.
This one.
Yeah, so like I'm thinking about doing a new project where I'm gonna kit bash maybe some of my old Warcry models to be the riders of a war, because a lot of those aren't valid anymore. Like the original box set, the Untamed Beasts, they're really wild looking. They've got lots of javelins and stuff. Like that seems like if you have you got a bunch of javelins, you could ride on the back of a mammoth. Kind of pull off something like that and make my own Chaos Mega Gargant. That was a Chaos War Mammoth. Something like that. I think would be super cool. So I think that was the highlight of last year. I'd love to have something similar to that again. I think it's a big undertaking. I don't think we're going to get something like that, but I'd like more of that, please.
I think we're going to do this big reveal for Age of Sigmar. I don't think it's going to be a specific faction. Like I don't think they're going to be like, here's the Lumineth book or whatever. I think it's going to be something that's for the game proper that maybe affects everybody. Like they're announced.
Maybe it'll be an announcement of like a big battle scroll that incorporates some of the seasonal rules because a new season's coming or something. Something
could be the announcement of a new season with a battle scroll. And while some people might think that's not impactful, whatever, as seeing new models, I think that's perfect. And if it was a new battle scroll and a new season, that could change everything. And I hope some of these soggy, everybody's calling them SOG, Scourge of Gyron models, the alternate rules for them, I would love to see them permanent. I don't know if it'll be like a replacement for what's ever in the Battle Tome or Index, or if it's just an always existing alternate. That would be great.
For some of them, it absolutely could be that, right? Like where it's like, oh, your Carrick Acolytes for Tzeentch. Well, now you've got Carrick Acolytes with Sorcerer's Bolts, or you've got Carrick Acolytes with cursed weapons, whatever. And so now you've got a shooting version, you've got a melee version. You're starting to separate out those roles again. Because right now it's like, we don't care what you're armed with. You all have weapons and a light shooting attack. But like this War Scroll difference has given them different purposes, different roles. Maybe don't require you to take one or the other. Maybe we can bring both, and they both have different roles and different points and different War Scrolls permanently. I'd love to see that kind of thing.
Well,
maybe not for a named character, right? Like I don't need two Abraxias. Yeah. Maybe the new Abraxia is better than the old Abraxia. Maybe just straight up replace that.
Yeah. Yeah, we've seen that. We've seen some units were just not getting played until they had a Scourge of Gyron variant, like the Brood Horror
Yeah.
or Brood Terror.
Yeah, the
whatever.
original Brood Horror War Score that came out with was just not. It was too much reliability. It didn't do enough, and it was squishy, and it was bad. The new one is impactful.
It gets played a lot. Like
it's very, very good.
So
yeah, it is so good now.
Someone was showing some the last weekend worth of Age of Sigmar tournaments, and there weren't that many, but we've seen it for a few weeks now. Stormcast Eternals are good, and it's because of their 20-point scenery, whatever that piece of terrain is for them.
Yeah, the portal.
Yeah, because it sounds like not only does Stormcast have a massive roster, but they just pick whatever units in whatever detachment thing they want, and they take advantage of that portal. And they're winning these games that you only need to like contest objectives for a little bit to score your points. I guess the new mission pack it's now old, but the current state of the missions and battle tactics, like Stormcast can just jump around and win games quickly. But the other thing that's been very popular is Skaven with these Brood Terrors in them, or Brood Horrors, whichever one they're called. And the Skaven list itself is varied. Some people do little heroes and lots of rat ogres, and some people do the Vizig Scour and whatever. But those monsters, the Brood Horrors, are showing up in all of them. But it's the Scourge of Gyron one, the soggy one, because it's just that much better. So in that case, it doesn't just feel like a different way to play. I just feel like they should replace the original rules with this one.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like, hey, we reworked the War Scroll. It's now this instead of the old one.
Yeah.
It's just, here's an upgrade, because that's what it is.
Yeah.
So.
Some of them were straight up upgrades. One of the most popular regiments of renown right now for Chaos players is the Hellsmiths of Hashut Battery one, where you get 2 artillery pieces and a hero. Which that's not a great big monetary investment or hobby investment. It's $60.
It doesn't have many points.
Yeah.
So it fits
like
everywhere.
340 points, and it's you buy a $40 hero and 2 $60 artillery pieces, and now you've got this. But a lot of Chaos lists are running that as their regiment of renown. They're running just melee heavy, win objectives heavy, and then this thing. I guess it's that good. Unfortunately, the Hellsmiths of Hashut themselves, as a standalone army, don't seem to be doing very well. So
to me, they feel very much like if you went full free guild of Age of Sigmar, it's a lot. Yeah. It's very similar. You have cannon. You've got some mediocre 1-wound infantry. Well, they have decent enough saves. They're 1-wound guys.
1 wound.
They don't do a lot of damage.
4 inches,
like. You have to supplement that army with other things, and Hellsmiths of Hashut really don't have a lot of tools to supplement with. Because I mean, really, it is analogous. It's very similar. You've got your infantry, you've got your melee infantry, you've got your shooting infantry, you've got a heavy cavalry. I mean, Cavaliers for Age of Sigmar did the same thing. You've got like a couple of support heroes. You've got an artillery piece. You've got a monster named character. It's like the 2 releases are 1 for 1. They're so similar.
Yeah.
And Age of Sigmar on its own with those current rules really didn't perform very well. Hashut's performing about the same.
Yeah.
So
people are using them in other armies and enjoying that. But yeah, I think it's going to take another big wave. Same with cities for them on their own to be competitive or whatever. But nothing is too egregious right now. Age of Sigmar, as it has been for a while, seems to be in an okay place. I think Cruel Boys on their own are not doing well. But
I mean, suffering from small roster again, like the army's it doesn't have enough to really branch out and do all the things, right? Because the army doesn't have really many ways to redeploy. It doesn't have, outflankers. It doesn't have quick movers.
They don't have armor.
They don't have armor. Yeah, it's just they're just kind of So
they do damage, but like the Iron Jaws can like do all that. Plus they're tougher. Plus they're faster.
Yeah, all the pigs, all the rampaging abilities, yeah. So yeah, they might be one of the armies that's kind of lacking at the moment. But it wouldn't take much. Like it was just a few little things. Give them some a unit of beast, swamp dogs, and that move 10 inches and pile in extra, whatever, something, and they'll be fine.
Yeah. And so speaking of things coming next year, we've probably only got, I don't know, 2 more shows maybe before we take a break for the holiday and the new year.
Yep.
And if we were to guess what's coming next year, we already suspect 4 or 5 releases for Age of Sigmar that could be big. We know the announcement of 11th edition 40K is probably coming.
Yep.
But what else? What else do you think is coming in 2026 that we maybe haven't talked about?
I think we're gonna get another specialist game.
Okay.
I think we're gonna get either Dreadfleet, the boat game.
Okay.
We're gonna get Dreadfleet or what's the space one for 40K?
Hopefully Gothic.
Battlefleet Gothic refresh. I think we're gonna get something like that. It's gonna come out of nowhere, and it's gonna be another thing they offer. Yeah.
Okay.
I had to take a wild guess. That's what it would be. Yeah.
I wouldn't guess much different. But what I suspect is coming at the end of the night, and not just the end of the year, is dinner. And that's as creative as I can be with that.
Yeah. I was gonna say some of the releases we're gonna be getting might be pretty appetizing. What else appetizing? Whatever I smell coming from my kitchen. So
Let's eat.
Yeah, let's eat.